It's 60 degrees.
Okay. So this is, you're saying this is 60 and this is 60.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Oh, well, they're all 60.
Yeah, all three of these are 60s because we just said with the regular hexagon, it's equilateral.
Yeah.
Okay, continue. Then what?
We know that, oh, I guess, well, we know the hypotenuses of all of them are 6.
This part right here, yeah, you could say that's 6.
From 60, 30, 90 triangle.
That's what I would do here. So I'm going to actually erase this here and make this into 30, 30. 30 and 30. Okay. So that's what Lucas suggested there, which is make it 30, 60, 90. Why does that help us?
Well, because then we.
Oh no, I wasn't going to say anything. Go ahead.
Okay, so we know that the bottom side, so the 60 to 90 is 3 because it's after the 6.
Right?
And then we can use the angles to figure out the other side.
You could, yeah. Which one's the most useful that you need to find though?
The long side, so not the hypotenuse.
This is the long side is
not the hypotenuse.
So this other side is opposite the 60. Right? We're finding this PK. Yeah, we're looking for PK in this. How would you find PK? Dominic?
Well, we know that, the hypotenuse is 6, so can't we just do the Pythagorean, yeah?
So yeah, you could go Pythagorean right here. You do that. Does anybody have another method? Well, wait, does it, Jeremy?
Well, the 2 sides are 6, like going back to the original like hexagon. So if you draw a line down from the very top to the very bottom, no, the original hexagon. If you, the very top to the very bottom, except all the way pushed to one side. So it's making a triangle with the 2 sixes. There it is.
Like from here to here.
No.
Why don't you come up here? Use black so we'll see what you're doing here. Oh, you want to do that? Okay, sure. Well,
And just do the Pythagorean here to figure out that.
okay, so actually what Jeremy is doing is he's creating an even bigger triangle, which would be 6 and 6 and 6. So that's 12.
Wait, no.
And this is 6
No,
and the bottom. No?
The like.
What are you doing? Yeah, because you only drew one line, so I assume that's what you're doing. You can do
It's
that.
like.
You can do that. Yes.
Triangle here.
Okay. But that's actually not as obvious because this becomes a 30 and a 30, and that's 30. This
Oh,
is
that's true. That's true. Okay.
Doing it this way, this is what I thought you were doing. Actually, it's much more obvious.
That works, yeah.
This is more obvious because you got 90, you got 60, and you got 30 here.
Yeah.
Did you get it, Lucas?
Square root of 27.
Square root of 27 is correct. So this equals 3 root 3, which is the square root of 27. If you have PK, you have JP.
And then you multiply by 2.
Right, so it should be 6 root 3. What I was really hoping to hear from you guys, besides the Pythagorean theorem, is that one of you guys would have memorized the 30, 60, 90 proportions. A lot of people are like, no, I don't need to memorize that. That's like on the front of the math section. I can just flip pages, right? But if you don't memorize it, you're not going to think of it. That's what I would say, okay? So I memorized it without a surprise. This is x root 3, and 2x, okay? When you look at what you have here, this is equal to 2x, this is x, so this is x root 3. If you have this already, you don't even need to go Pythagorean. You got 3 root 3 right there. So this was 3 root 3, right? And if you got 3 root 3, then you just multiply by 2. So that's what I would do. It just makes it just one step faster. And then Pythagorean, sure, you can do it. I'm not saying you can't do it. So good. Very good job on that, all of you guys. And creative ways to do it, Jeremy, so that's fine. Let's go to number 9. This one's super easy. Let's see. Let's hear from Emma. I haven't heard from you. You want to try that one?
Hi, Brandon. trying to, it's not math right now, so.
It's not in math mode right now. Your face is like, no bueno, dude. No math for me. No bueno. All right, let's go back to Jeremy over here. You want to read number 9 for us? Okay.
So there's 5 slides. Let's do 3 times 3.
What is it?
I don't know. Or it's 5,
540, correct. It's 540. So AB plus all this stuff here equals 540. Did anybody add up the other sides, the 95, 120, and the 110? $325. The 90, yeah. Is it 325?
215. Yep, or that's the side of angle A and B. Right?
325. So this would be 215 to equal 540. Is that right? 110, I see 330, yeah. I'm sorry, 230 plus 95. 320, yeah, that's right. Okay, good. That was pretty easy, right? When I look at the angles, I'm a snowboarder, so I just think of like watching the Olympics, and they're like, dude, look at that guy go. Look at that guy go up there. He's going like fakey 320 or 1240, and you're thinking angles and stuff like that. None of you guys are snowboarders or anything like that. Whenever you hear the Olympics, I don't know what the heck they're saying when they talk about half pipe. They'll say, dude, look, he's doing the McTwist. He's doing a 1280. You're like, what is a McTwist? It all looks the same. All right, let's continue here. No, I think they really know what it is, but I have no idea. I can't catch, my eyes aren't catching it. They have like, well, fakie is the same as going, fakie is the same as saying that your right foot goes forward. There's regular and there's fake. Yeah, so whatever, it's one of those things. Let's continue. Let's go to the next part. I think you guys know what a radius, diameter, circumference, area. We need to know these formulas. Got to have them down cold. Diameter is equal to 2r. Circumference is 2 pi r. Area pi r squared, right? So Emma, I know you're in the no bueno mode, but I want you to read number 10 for us. And that figure is part of it.
If the area of the circle centered at O is 36 pi, then what is the circumference of the circle? The radius is 2x.
So does this figure help you?
Helps you understand what x is.
Okay. This is called circle O, right? So what critical information do we get from it?
So the area is 36 pi.
Mm-hmm. Area is 36 pi.
Let's do it really fast.
Say it again.
Oh, it's, then what we do is basically we divide by 2x. Or you just divide by
2x for area?
Oh, well, I'm trying to talk about the radius now.
Oh, okay, you have the, but what is the radius?
Oh, the radius is 2x.
Is
2x.
it? Slow down, slow down. Actually, slow down on that one. Jeremy?
Pi r squared equals 36 pi.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is equal to pi r squared. So this is useful to tell you that radius equals 6.
Yeah, which means that x equals 12. And so
X is 12. Okay, good.
So it says circle of circumference. What is the circumference of a circle whose radius is pi x?
Yes.
2x, so the radius would be 24, yeah, 12, I'm saying the diameter.
Yeah.
I messed up the word there.
So this is 24 for the radius. So were you thinking of a second circle, Lucas?
24.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were already like 10 steps ahead of us then. Okay, that's fine. Because I wanted to get through this circle before we got to the second one.
Okay.
But that's all right. So Emma, you're on a roll now. You have this
24 squared.
squared or
Well,
circumference.
it's pi r squared.
Circumference.
Oh, for circumference, sorry, it's 2 pi r.
Yes.
So it's
2 pi r.
pi.
Yeah, so this is 48 pi. You would have had a huge number.
I would have noticed immediately because it was not on my scale.
This is the
No.
old circle.
It said the
Right.
radius
Use the
is
x.
2 pi.
The new
I had
circle
2x.
And then,
has a radius of 2x, which is 24.
oh, yeah, sorry. I
20.
thought it said the diameter.
It's okay.
I messed it up.
I think what tricks some people is that they don't see two circles drawn there, and so they just rely on that first one. Yeah. So good. It's a good team effort here. 48 pi. Excellent. So good
I
job.
think I would have noticed if I had done squared and then went to the answer. I was like, wait.
Because it would have been ginormous.
Yeah.
And you would have said, that's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So this next part, I think is very useful. You will see questions that deal with the arc, with a sector. And what they're trying to say right here, I wish that they had written it a little bit differently, but they're saying that in a circle, if you have this, right, it says ARC like this. Your arc is basically just this part,
Yeah.
and your sector is the slice, right? You guys are cool with that, right? They're just saying they're proportional to a central angle x. That's what x is. And then it's arc in reference to circumference, sector in reference to area. You guys are cool with that? What's that? Theta?
Well, I'm
I mean, if
not-
you're dealing with the radian circle and stuff like that. Yeah. So what I'm saying is arc with respect to circumference and central angle over 360. You could call it that way, or you could say sector over area. Usually what they will do on these problems is they'll give you the circumference information and they'll ask about the sector, which means you need the area, right? Or they'll give you the sector information and they really want to have arc information so that you have to go back and forth between area and circumference. That's really what they're doing there. Next part, this is just saying that a tangent to a circle is perpendicular to the radius at the point of contact. There's just one point of contact on that. So you guys are all cool with that, right? You guys remember that if I asked you for the slope of a tangent, what's the first thing you think of? If I gave you a line that had a slope, and then I asked you for the tangent, what would you do? It's perpendicular, so what's the first thing you think of with perpendicular? This is not on there, I'm just throwing this out there for you. If I said the slope of a line is y is equal to 3x plus 2, what's the perpendicular to that? What's the slope of the perpendicular? Negative, not exactly. Close, but not exactly. You're halfway there. He's halfway there, someone will.
1 over.
Yeah, so the perpendicular would be negative 1/3 x plus whatever the b is. We don't know what the b is.
Oh.
Remember, negative reciprocal, right? I just threw that in there for the fun of it. Usually when they combine all these topics together, they'll give you a circle, they'll give you something about that circle, like the center of the circle. You find it'll tell you what the radius is, and then it'll say, what is the slope of the tangent to the circle? So you've got a process in your head. Oh yeah, tangent is perpendicular. The slope is going to be negative reciprocal to whatever that radius is, right? So they'll kind of combine several topics together to complicate things, okay? You guys are cool? Let's move on from there. Let's go to 11 And I don't know who read the last one. That was, have I read that? Lucas, you want to read 11?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Two circles share the same center, as shown in the figure above. If the shaded area is 80 pi square inches and the smaller circle has a radius of 8 inches, what is the radius in inches of the larger circle? Okay, so we know that the radius, okay, so we know that the radius of the smaller one is 8 inches.
Okay.
So would we want to start out by finding, okay, so we want to find the area of the smaller circle and tag the larger circle to then simplify the equation to get the radius.
Right.
And so to start out, if the equation for area is pi r squared, so pi 8 squared is 63. Oh wait, 64.
Yes.
So 64 pi is the area, and we can add it to the 80 pi.
Right.
So that is going to be 244. Oh, sorry, 144.
So you have 80, oops, I wrote that wrong. 64 plus 80. 64 pi plus 80 pi. So the large is what you're finding here is 144 pi. And then they're asking what the radius is. So the
So
answer,
we can simplify it. So we subtract or take pi away from it, cancel pi on both sides. And then we can take the square root of 144, and that can give us the radius of the bigger circle.
is
12.
12. Good. Good job on that. I mentioned this last week. I know you weren't with us, but if you guys notice, this is just like the one with the square, just using different shapes. The same equation of large is equal to area of the small plus shaded region. Exact same thing. No surprises here. Yeah, we're going to get into that one today. Yeah. Let's go to 12. Dominic, you want to read that one for us?
Each curved side of the figure above is formed from the circumferences of two semicircles, each with a radius of 2, and each of the parallel sides has length 4. What is the area of the shaded figure?
Okay.
Well,
He's going to give one.
we know that there were 2 semicircles, so if we draw a circle, and cut it through the middle, that's 2 semicircles.
Right.
There's a radius of 2.
So we could draw the radius into this figure, right? Let's do that for a second. The radius is 2, right? Radius is 2. Is that a huge clue? Did I give away the rest of the problem? Jeremy?
Do that on the bottom as well.
Sure, let's do that.
Of the slide.
Of course, it's not drawn to scale.
Yeah. And those are 8, the sides are 8. Got all the radiuses together.
Right.
And the other 2 sides are 4. You just put that on top of it. And then we're template.
Right. Correct. That's all you had to do. It looks visually like, whoa, that's not a normal figure, right? But then when you really look at what they told us, it's actually something we can deal with pretty easily. So it's 32. Good. Those are classic tricks on the SAT. We're all doing fine here, right? Let's move from these shapes of, polygons and circles, and let's talk about functions. And function questions, it's really just the way that they express it. I'm sure you guys have seen some of this stuff. Let's go with Emma. Do you want to read 13 for us?
Sure. if f plus x is equal to x squared minus 7x and f of w is equal to 0, what is one possible value of 0? It's taking me a little bit longer to think.
That's all right. Does anybody want to chime in on this one?
Oh.
The answer is 7? Tell us why.
Well, it would be 7 squared minus 7 times 7.
Right, so what they're doing here, hold on a second. You got the right direction. When they give you something that looks like this and you're like, f of w equals 0, what do you mean? All they're saying is you plug in w instead of x. So this is really saying if you put w into the same equation, it's w squared minus 7w equals 0. Then Emma kind of did the math in her head. She's like, well, if you put 7 in there as w, that's probably what w equals. So that's 7 squared minus 7 times 7. That does equal 0. So she's correct. It equals 7. That's correct. You could backsolve this one, or you could have figured it out algebraically, but that pretty much does the job there. A lot of times with this type of geometry, the concepts aren't hard, but what's really their trick is they put it into strange language. But we know that domain is input. Typically, that's your x value that goes in there, and your range is the output, the result, the y value, right? So that's usually how we should think of it. Input is usually an x, the range is usually a y, it's the result. So what they do to make it harder is they've included symbol problems. Symbol problems are a little bit strange and they look kind of confusing. They'll use things like hearts and diamonds, or they'll use symbols that you know are not math symbols, but they're just trying to see, can you follow the steps of a formula on this one? So it's just a lot like function problems or substitution. So Lucas, you want to do 14 for us?
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, the expression a raised to b raised to the b is defined as b minus a over 4. The expression a times b is defined as a plus b over 4. What is the value of 3 times 5? Like raised 8, because aren't those exponents?
Those are not, I would just call it carrots.
Symbols.
These are carrots.
But don't you use on the computer to?
Yes, you do. You would turn that into an exponent, but in this case, they're just calling it caret,
Okay.
but not calling it exponent.
Throw in some symbols.
That's it. These are not multiply. These are just asterisks. So this is correct.
So then you just start off by plugging 3 and 5 into a plus b over 4. So it's going to be 3 plus 5 over 4. That's 8 over 4, that's 2. And then we would plug 2 and 8 into the b minus a over 4. So that would be 8 minus 2 over 4. That's 6 over 4 or 3 over 2.
Good. Excellent job there. That's right. So the only really traditional things that we ended up doing are after we plugged the numbers in there, then we went PEMDAS, right? We stuck with what was in the parentheses first, did that before we did carets second, right? And he did it exactly right. It comes out to 3 over 2. Questions on that, or is it good? Okay, let's continue. That was a good job on that one. Let's go to 15. Dominic, you want to try that?
Yeah. If g of a equals a squared plus 10, what is the smallest possible value of g of a? So what is it asking us to?
Okay, Lucas, you want to clarify what it's asking first?
So just asking for the smallest possible value you can get. Or you can put into A to get out like the smallest possible from GA.
They're not looking for A, they're looking for G of A.
Well, okay.
They're not looking for O.
Or then it would,
What do you think, Dominic?
Then wouldn't it be 11?
it would not be determined.
11. Is that the smallest you could get?
Something squared plus 10.
So I'm gonna verify what Dominic just said. If A equals 1, then G of A does equal 11, but can we go smaller?
Yeah.
So we used 0, right? If A equals 0, then G of A equals 10. Can we go smaller?
No.
Lucas says no, you say maybe.
I don't know, I don't think everything's different.
Okay.
You can't put a negative into it, because then it'll just turn out positive.
Correct. It'll just get bigger.
A fraction, it'll still be over 10.
Okay.
Right. So there's no way to eliminate this 10 from here. So you're right. So this is the smallest possible value, 10. That was tricky because on one part you're trying to figure out, am I using A or am I looking for G of A? And then when you do figure it out, then you realize, oh yeah, I can't get smaller than 10. So that's the kind of stuff they throw at us. Let's go to 16 with Jeremy on this one.
Because W squared plus 1 for all the values that we give probably the smallest possible value of p. That's 0. Because you're never going to have 0 in parentheses, or parentheses,
Cannot equal 0. It can never equal 0 because no matter what you put in here for W, either positive, negative, fractions, it will never eliminate this 1. Because even if we put, it's similar to the previous problem where if you put 0 in there as W, so it was D of 0, then this is really 0 squared plus 1. It still equals 1. That's the smallest possible value. This is probably the opposite of what we just did, right? Because it's saying which is not a possible value of dw. dw could not equal 0, right? Because they were looking for what 1 was and what this is what it cannot be. Let's go to 17 here, and Jeremy, you just read the last one, right? Emma, you want to read 17 for us? Oh, it fits you perfectly. You're always carrying a deck of cards, and this one has the symbols. Excellent. Yes. So this is made for you. It's destiny that you would read this one.
Let club n club be defined as club n club equals n squared minus 2n for all values n. Let club x club equal club x plus 3 club. What is the value of x?
I'm terrible at drawing clubs. And clubs don't even look like symbols from cards, but
You just draw star.
yeah, I'm halfway there, so I might as well make my ugly looking clubs. All right, so what do you guys think of this problem here?
I'm not a big fan.
Not a big fan.
Question.
You have a question?
So all the previous X's have clubs attached to them, but this final one does not have clubs. It says, what's the final value of X?
Right, there's no club there.
Does that mean something in the equation?
Well, based on the given formula, when you put whatever X value into it, it gives you this.
Equal to that. Though?
Which one's that?
The n squared minus 2n.
Equal to
Could you replace that with x and have it be equal to
this one?
Yeah.
Or this?
that one,
You mean right, your right side?
right side?
It's gonna look different. What about the left side?
Sure.
Okay, let me hear from Jeremy, because he had his hand up. I wanted
It's like
to.
substitution.
Yes.
It's like you're putting in
Um,
the like x plus 3 for n. Like every time there's an n, you expect put x plus 3.
Yes. So that's right. So let's do that. This is gonna be
oh, that's
x plus 3. I should do this in a different color just to show it. Yeah, let's
I
do
for
that.
some reason thought it was attached.
So this is x plus 3 squared minus 2 times x plus 3. Is that the only thing we do for this problem?
Maybe.
What about that side? You do the same thing. So this side, this formula they created will go on both sides. So this is going to be x squared minus 2x for this one. Basically, you're using this club formula on the left and on the right. It is, for some people, when they read it, they think of the left side as just f of x, but it's not. It's saying, do this club formula on the left, do the club formula on the right. After this, it's just all algebraic. So let's see if people get the answer on this one. What do we get here for x plus 3 squared? Can someone do that off the top of their head?
X squared plus 6x plus 9.
Yes. And then this?
It should be minus 2x minus 6.
Right. How do we clean this up now?
So you can subtract the 6 from the 9, so that's just positive 3. The 2 from the 6x, so that's positive 4x. And then you keep the x squared. So it's x squared plus 4x plus 3.
That does not make sense.
He's just
Now what you're
cleaning.
doing- Now what you're doing up there, what I did on my piece of paper.
What do you mean?
I did something where 0 equals 3.
0 equals 3.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay. Like this is a square here. Let's clean this up a little bit. Let's clean this up. What can we do here? Dominic?
Well, we can subtract the x squared to the other side, cancel out pretty much.
Pretty much.
And we can add the 2x to the other side and subtract 3x. Subtract 3. Okay. So we
Right,
get
this is
negative
30.
3 equals 2x. Or 6x.
6x. This is 6. And then the final step.
Divide by 6.
So you get x over here, negative 3 over 6, also known as negative 1/2. That's correct. So that was correct. I think the hardest part is just realizing that you're going to do this club formula on the left, on the right. The rest of it, I think you guys can get it pretty easily. And that's probably as hard as these simple problems will be. I've seen some where you end up having to do this symbol substitution in the beginning and then at the very end, because instead of giving you answers like negative 2, negative 1/2, what they'll do is they'll give you like answer is negative 2 symbol, negative 1/2 symbol, and you're like, is that the same as what I calculated? So you have to test out the answers also. So that can happen. Great job on all that. We are going to move forward to the session 6 lesson. Are you guys ready for that? Okay, we'll do that. So switching off of math, we're just going to go straight into the writing section, which I know for you guys is probably something that you guys find pretty easy to do, right? I think most of you guys are pretty strong in that area. Let me just pull something out here. All right, so let's just continue. So word choice problems here, they deal with context of a word. They also deal with subject and verb agreement, and also dealing with pronouns. So those are the three things that they're dealing with. Word choice deals with context, meaning that you look at the rest of the sentence and they give you, 4 choices, which one fits best with the rest of the meaning of the sentence. The second issue is dealing with subject and verb agreement. That deals with plurality versus singularity. It also deals with verb tense, right? When you're dealing with subject and verb. You guys are all on the same page? Lucas, you know where we're at now?
Yeah, I was just trying to
Organize. It's all good, all good.
With verb tense.
Yeah, and the last thing was using agreement with pronouns. Sometimes a sentence will use a pronoun. I think the red flag pronouns are the words they and it and their, because we use those words in conversation and we freely say, oh yeah, they
Which
should.
there.
THEIR. That's used very freely. Like, oh yeah, they should fix this road. Who's they? Well, the state, the city, the county. Who's they? It should be it, right? Yes.
So the word choice questions deal with verb tense, pronoun agreement, and plural? What would you say?
I said for number 2, I said subject verb agreement, meaning both in verb tense as well as in singularity versus plural.
So
Yeah. The second one is both tense.
subject and verb agreement.
Yes. And the third thing is using the correct pronouns or identifying pronoun issues.
So subject and verb agreement, pronoun agreement, they.
Oh, the first one was dealing with context.
Okay.
Context, because the rest of the sentence will tell you, what's the meaning of the sentence, what are you trying to get across, should you change that. This represents a good 10% of word choice problems. So let's go to the first one. I forgot who I left off with on our map. Oh, I did Emma because she was the cards. Do you want to? Let's go to Lucas. We're just going to go in order. So
Did you say 10%?
10%. It's about 10% of the questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've had little luck finding someone to drive us to the track meets, so we're then going to ride up on the team bus. We'll say, well, it could also be no, right?
Well, the context should tell you. I'm not going to.
No, it's no.
It's no. Why is it no?
Because they decided to go on the team bus.
Right. If you had a little luck, that means you got a ride. Right? So, but remember, in conversation, we get away with saying this a lot. How's your luck in getting a ride? Not too much. So we don't want to sound too extreme and say, no luck, dude. Right? So we say, oh, not much. Right? But the proper word would be no luck. How about the next one, Dominic?
Chameleons are perhaps the most versatile of all animals that changes their particular coloration. I think it's C.
Yes.
Change.
Because chameleons is plural, change would fit. It would be most appropriate for singularity and plurality. How about number 3, Jeremy?
My brother has often asked she and I to walk with his dog.
Yeah, asked her, asked me. Yeah, that's correct. So it should be D. So testing out each of the pronouns to make sure they're appropriate. A lot of times people inappropriately use this. Actually, I'm going to bring up some realistic life trivia. There is a song on the radio that is grammatically wrong. It irks me like crazy. And it says something like him and me, or him and I. It's just some girl singing and she keeps saying him and I, him and I. And I'm like, that is incorrect. Him is an objective case. I is a subjective case. Of course, if I wrote an email to the recording company, they would laugh at me.
Yeah.
But when I hear that, do you know what song I'm talking about? She keeps saying him and I, him and I. I'm like, that's wrong. You guys don't know that song already? I gotta find it. If I find it, I'll play it for you guys. So you can, I will find it for you,
Okay.
and that way you will cringe just like I do next time you hear that on the radio. I know you're like, I don't feel like cringing, but yes.
I think it's worse, like if it's in a full song than someone like quoting a song.
Yes, if you heard it. Yeah. So this is dealing specifically with verb tenses, and we've kind of gone into detail about what makes verb tense issues. Obviously, the context of it is a huge clue because the context will tell us which verb tense it should go into, right? Yeah, the second one is context of the passage.
Wait, context of passage and what's the first one?
Well, I mean, you can write that as the first or the second. It doesn't really matter if you write it as the first. And then also the second part is consistency. So consistency meaning that if you see that everything is in the past tense, then you stay with it. You don't change it just because. I know there's some English teachers that say please write everything in present tense. And you're like, why? It didn't happen in the present tense. It happened in the past, right? I've had English teach. I remember that. In freshman English, my English teacher said, write everything in present tense. I'm like, why? Okay. When I'm talking about the past. So this is less than 3% of the questions, but it happens pretty frequently. So let's go with number 4. That was, who did I? That was Emma. Okay, Lucas.
No, that would be.
That was me.
Oh, it was your turn then.
Yeah, so
Okay, number
that's what I'm
4.
saying.
It's you.
United States will acquire the territory that would later become California. Or probably B then, because it seems like it's like would later become. So it seems like it's past.
It is past tense. Acquired, it happened in 1846. So this already was completed, right? So the acquisition of the territory, we're in it right now, California, right? So it already happened. So D is your best one. Let's go to the number 5, Lucas.
The snake in the bushes raises its head to attack. Fortunately, there were no children playing in the yard at the time. I believe it would be B.
Be raised on this one. Real quick, what's the difference between raise and rise? We talked about this, right?
Oh gosh, I forget it.
Dominic?
Vampires.
Raised is like you're earning and like obtaining it. The rise is like,
Yes,
You mentioned
and
vampire.
kind of. Yeah, Jeremy?
Rise is like you do it yourself, and raise is like you do it with or to something else.
Yes. Like I raised this marker. Marker can't raise itself, but the
you
bread.
raise your hand.
No, my bread rises on its own. Dracula rises from his coffin.
That's what I remember.
Yeah. So that's how I think of it. Okay, good. Let's go to number 6 here, Dominic.
in the 1922, Ellington pays more than rent in the book. He pays his dues on the bandstand. B, A.
Yeah, this is consistency right here. Pretty obvious though. That was an obvious one. Idioms. Okay, this is interesting. Before I get into this, what is an idiom? Someone want to tell me? Dominic?
An idiom is a comparison of pieces like.
Can be. That's an example of one. When I Googled this, I was looking at ways to kind of reinforce this better because a lot of people think idioms are sayings, like an apple a day keeps a doctor away, or if you say, the political analyst read the tea leaves after the election. Do you read tea leaves? Or the team won the championship hand over fist. That is not what we're talking about. Those are sayings, but in this we're talking about grammatical idioms here. So it's slightly different. Does anybody want to take a definition of what a grammatical idiom would be as opposed to like these slang idioms? It would be more using phrases properly. Like you would say, I ate as much as my brother. You wouldn't say, I ate as much that my brother. That wouldn't. So the first thing that they deal with are, 1, prepositions, okay? Because I would say, one example would be something like, I competed with, I competed for, I competed against, right? They would have 3 different meanings based on the preposition that I'm using, right? And the second one here is the proper English to it. So it's kind of like the context of it, because depending on the context, I would use something like competed with, competed for, or competed against, right? Depending on what I'm trying to say. So using it with the right preposition in the right context. This is less than 5% of the questions. I will email you guys some idioms so that you guys can look at it and know some more of them, like kind of generate a list of things like you'll see, like either must go with or, neither must go with nor. Those are the types of idioms. One of my one of my today's about pet peeves in grammar because I'm telling another one pet peeve is the phrase so much that. Let me ask you this. Would you say so much that or so much so that? You would say so much so that. So use it in a sentence.
So much so that I can, oh wait, no, so much so that I can eat.
What do you think, Dominic?
It hurt me so much, so it's awesome.
Okay, Emma?
Well, I would say something like, basically that, except like, hey, so much. So that.
Do you need the extra so? That's my point.
Okay.
I had a debate with one of my classmates in high school about this. And this is after we both had finished college and stuff. And actually, he was already a TV reporter. And we were talking about writing scripts. And he wrote the phrase so much so that I'm like, why do you have to say the extra so? And he said, no, this is proper. You have to say the extra so. And I hear people say it. And I hear people, I see it in newspapers, but I have never agreed with it. If I ended up ever teaching English to a group of freshmen, I would teach a whole day about why so much so that is wrong. I'm going to use a sentence here, okay? I ate so much that I was full. Does that sound normal? I ate so much so that I'm full. Does that sound normal?
I've never used this, so I hear how that is. I've been told that is the correct.
It is not correct. Let me use it this way, because in order for it to sound correct, you have to inflect the so much so to sound correct. Let me inflect it wrong. I ate so much so that I'm full. That's wrong inflection, and it sounds horrible. I'm going to do wrong inflection for the other version. I ate so much that I'm full. Doesn't matter how I inflect it. Without the second so will sound right regardless how I inflect it. Okay? How many of you guys have ever tried to take Chinese? You have. Chinese is a tone-based language, so if you inflect it wrong, it is a different word. English is not a tone-based language, so it doesn't matter how you inflect it, it should come out right no matter what. So if anybody ever says, you missed out on the second so, you should, do it, tell them you don't need it. Okay, I wrote a full essay about this. If you ever want to read it, it's a wonderful essay about why so much so that is wrong. It irks me when I hear it. Like my heart skips a beat when I hear the extra so.
You hated it so much so that you wrote a paper on it.
Exactly. I hate it so much that I wrote a paper about it. Okay. But you don't need the extra so. All right. So I know you find that humorous, but it's true. It is, but it's one that I hope you catch from now on. Did we go to number 7 yet?
Nope.
No? Who did we leave off with here?
I did.
You did. So let's go Jeremy on this. I hope you were entertained by the so much versus so much.
Economics is much like the big club in high school class. War life.
Okay.
That's what I said.
It should be more. When do you use much? When do you use more?
Much like quantitative.
Much is countable, something that you can actually, quantitative. More is comparative. That's what it is. Qualitative. That's a good way to put it. Quantitative versus qualitative. How about the next one, Emma?
Spatial program administered from National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NSA, started before today's high school students were born. Probably C.
Administered by, correct. That's correct on that one. All right, the next one, Lucas. Oh no, wait. Oh, the next one is it's kind of a passage. What I want you guys to do here is spend a couple minutes and do 1 through 10, and we'll go through those together. You guys ready? So all eyes are looking up. So I'll just read off the answers and we'll go over the ones that people may have questions about. Number 1 was D. 2 is A. 3 C. 4 B. 5 is D. 6 is D. 7 B. We're all good on those so far? All right. Let me get to the next page. 8 is B. 9 C. 10 D. Questions on any of those? Disagreement? This is not a so much versus so much so that. Okay, good. Let's continue. All right. You guys ready? Do you guys need to take a break or anything? We're right after 6 o'clock. Do you need like a couple minutes?
So you don't order the test, I'll be right back.
Totally cool. All right, let me pause this for a little bit. Yeah. All righty. Well, let's get back into this stuff here. You guys are doing really well. I know for the writing section, that's one of the easier things. One thing I'm going to say, though, the questions we do in class are more to drive home certain points. They're easier than the test, as you guys have seen, right? So that gives us time to talk about things like what's the difference between more and much, what's the difference between so much that and so much so that, right? Because sometimes we look at these things and we take it for granted and we don't really care, right? But when you do take a magnifying glass and you really look at these things, then you realize, wow, this is the kind of stuff the SAT will try to test us on. let's get into the next section here, which is reading on page 176. What we call function questions. I remember I talked about the different types of questions that we would see, the detailed questions, the global ones, the vocab and context. We've talked about those three pretty consistently. I'm getting more specific here. Function questions are a type of detailed question that asks why. And the phrase why is rarely used on the SAT. I've only seen it once myself, to be honest. And I'm not saying 1%, I'm saying I only seen it once. When the SAT asks about why, they use different phrasing, and they have a specific word or phrase. They ask, why does the author use this word or phrase? They may ask about why the author uses a specific word or phrase. That you spot them is that they use the phrase in order to. Okay? This one, you will see this many times. If you actually flip the page and look at this passage and the questions, just flip to about 2 pages away on questions 1, 2, and 3. The last 3 words are is meant to, in order to, in order to. Flip the next page, you'll see in order to, serves primarily to, and in order to. And this is the test maker's way of saying why. So I'll put the list here. Is meant to, serves to, or as, serves as. Another one they use is functions as, or functions to. These are the most common ones that you'll see, but they rarely use the word why. And what this means is you can spot them with that kind of trigger phrase there. And to answer it, you should answer for yourself, why did the author use this word or phrase, right? That's what you got to answer for yourself. Why did the author use this word or phrase? I would go back to the passage and figure out what that means in the passage. But these are the common ones that they use. They interchange between these just to say why. That's what they do. Okay. So if you guys are ready, go ahead and read this passage for a couple minutes and we'll talk about it. Don't do the questions, just read the passage. We'll talk about the questions together. So if we could talk about this passage for a little bit. What was significant about the first paragraph? Anybody want to share? Dominic?
That it was a gamble to record Fox Goldberg variation.
Okay, gamble to do that. All right. Any other things? Did they use the word gamble though? Yeah, they did. Quite a gamble. Sure. All right, that's totally fine. And then what about the second paragraph? What would we say here for the second paragraph?
Can't really tell with the paragraph.
Starts off with Landowska grew,
Oh, and then the next one is Landowska.
and it goes all the way to repertoire. That's the second paragraph.
Oh, okay. Kind of like how they got into it.
How they, Dominic,
How she
got in, what's it?
got into Baroque.
How Landowska got into Baroque. Okay. It was like, I was like walking down the hall and I heard that beat and I was like, damn, Baroque is off the chain. It's all that and a bag of chips. I was like feeling it. Maybe that's what she sounded like.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Okay, next paragraph. What's important here? Third paragraph. Dominic?
Talks about a few things, but I guess mainly the beauty of her performance.
A little bit more than that. A little bit more. I think there's something that we can hold on to that's a little bit stronger than that.
Was it just kind of like her introduction into music?
That's the previous one where she was.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
She heard somebody called Rameau. She's like, damn, Rameau's off the chain. And then, okay, that was the previous paragraph. This is the one that says pursued her interest in Baroque music, and it goes to the next column.
Yeah, like how she continued like records.
Right. So it goes all the way to historical context, that next paragraph. What's significant here? Yes,
Sure.
but more detail.
World War II.
For educating other people about Baroque?
Yes, that's what I would say. She did that in Paris, and she did it in America. So I would say Landowska educated about Baroque in Paris, US. Okay. What about the next paragraph? Is that the last one? Yeah, starting around 53 to about 76. Jeremy?
How she played in comparison.
Yeah, how she played compared to her other people. So how Elle played compared to others. Okay. Does anybody even know what a harpsichord looks like? Okay, what is it?
It's one of those like things that's like standing up and it's like flat on one side and then like curved on the other.
It's not a harp.
Strings. Is that just a harp?
You're thinking of this thing.
I'm thinking of a harp, yeah.
The harp,
Yeah.
like that. That's not what it is.
I think it's either the tiny ones or it's the
Tiny what's?
Tiny harp. It's kind of like a harp, but it's like tiny.
It's not a
Or the one
harp.
that's laying down.
Not a harp.
It's like a piano, but
Yes.
not.
Oh, those.
It's like a mini piano that's narrow, like the width would be this much and it would have two levels, but it's a really high pitch, higher, the keys are higher pitched keys as opposed to a piano, which is like spread out for 88 keys this way. So that's what's different. If you Google, I did this, I literally Googled harpsichord and I went on YouTube to find Wanda Landowska to find how she played. And it's all these little, harpsichord. They look like mini pianos, like about the size of this, in width. So, all right, good. If you're to give this an overall purpose, what would it be?
Promote the Baroque style and kind
Promote the,
well, just give historical background as to a bit of the pre-commercial of the Baroque style almost.
okay, that could be close. Dominic?
Landowska's influence on like Baroque,
Did she influence Baroque?
like the popularity of Baroque.
You're getting warmer, Jeremy?
I would say it's just like
Landowska.
Landowska's story.
And that's getting a little bit more general. I want to bring it back to what all three of you guys are saying, unless Emma wants to chime in. Not really. Not feeling the Baroque music. If it ain't Baroque, don't fix it. I would say it is, like you guys said, the history or the life of Wanda Landowska and her attempts to bring back Baroque. Because it was old music. I don't know if you guys read that little asterisk, but it was from 1600 to 1750. So if you think about what she did, she brought back music that was 200 years old back into pop culture in France and attempted to do it in the U.S.
So we wouldn't call it the rebirth like I said then.
Did you say rebirth? I didn't hear.
Oh, I said the rebirth of Baroque style.
Oh, I didn't hear you rebirth when you said that. Okay. Well, that would be, but I would also include the Landowska part because it wasn't simply, it didn't expand on just the style of music. It reflected her life and the rebirth. So both of them together. That's why I said what all of you guys are saying together. So that's good. Let's go into these questions here. I'm going to start with Emma, since you're happily playing cards there, with question number 1.
The discussion of the time during when Landowska recorded the Goldberg variations line 5 to 9 is meant to. 9 says.
Well, before you go A through D, which
I know,
okay,
I have mine covered by my
okay,
card right here.
good. All right,
I'm going back to here and I'm rereading the section.
very good.
Okay, it's meant to. Nope.
Wait. Give us what you predict as an answer. Don't give us yes.
Oh, okay. The discussion of the time during when they recorded it was meant to.
Basically, this question is why did they bring up the time? Tell us in your own words.
Because it was really outdated.
Because it was outdated. Okay.
So.
Now let's go through the answers. Lead us through with yes, no, and maybe.
I'd say mostly no.
Okay, let's go walk through it. A through D.
It
Remember?
would be mostly no.
Mostly no. Okay. Then B.
Maybe.
Question the wisdom. Okay. Next one.
Not 5. Nope.
For C, you're saying no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not B. I'd say B.
Question the wisdom of producers of Landowska's recording. Lucas had an immediate reaction.
I was saying C, mainly because it's challenging for her to bring it back because it's so outdated.
Is that what C is saying?
No,
The nature of the type of music. challenging nature. Challenging nature to me would be if it was an instrument that was really challenging to play, or the music that was challenging to play. That's not what you're thinking, what C meant.
Yeah.
Dominic?
I think it's D,
D, why D?
because before the paragraph is talking about how there's critical and public acclaim for her recording, and then later it mentions that she was unknown and that it had fallen out of favor. So it shows how she changed the musical.
Yes, exactly. That is correct. It said that it had fallen out of favor. That would be, I mean, I can't even think of music that's 200 years old. I mean, I don't listen that far back, but if you were just to go 100 years ago, American music in 1917 was very different. You guys wouldn't be listening to that today. And if you heard it, you wouldn't be jumping and saying, yeah, let's play more of this, right? But this woman brought stuff that was 250 years in the past for her. So it was a challenging thing to do, right? Because she changed the musical community. Let's go to 2. Lucas, you want to read that one?
The author cites the translation of Mark Twain, lines 15 through 16, in order to. Yeah. So we're just supposed to start in the middle of a sentence. Okay. So I think she uses it to kind of represent her prior influences
Okay,
of music.
possibly. Okay, good.
So it provides evidence for a previous statement. I'm gonna say maybe.
Okay,
Presents a thesis that will be supported. No. Sets a well-known example of a phenomenon or a phenomenon. No. Counters an argument that follows. No. Would it be A?
it is A, because the previous sentence says that she grew up in a rich cultural environment. I mean, she's Polish, and her mother translated Mark Twain, so that meant her mother was able to understand a novel that was written in Mississippi redneck. Have you guys read that before? It's not written in English. I mean, it is English, but most of the dialogue is these people who are from Mississippi, and they talk with a real deep Southern accent and all that. And it's written with strange words. And so for her mother to fully understand that meant that her mother was well read, to be able to translate that. I mean, I'm being silly and facetious when I impersonate, but yeah, you get what I'm saying. And then her parents obviously put her into a music conservatory, so it's a rich cultural environment. Okay, I had a student the other day saying, "Oh, you mean she was a baller?" I'm like, no, it doesn't mean she's a baller. Okay, let's go to number 3 here with Dominic.
The author cites the incident when Duska heard the performance of a work by Rameau in order to show her initial interest in Baroque.
Initial interest in Baroque, I like that. Okay.
So A is emphasize the support that Lewandowska received from her teachers in her studies of Baroque music. No. B is provide an example of the style of playing that was most prevalent at the Warsaw Conservatory. No. Illustrate the early and deeply felt affinity that Lewandowska had for Baroque music. Yes. D is give an example of a Baroque composer whose work Lewandowska helped revive. No. It's C.
Definitely C. That's her. She basically fell in love with the music, and that's what she heard it. She's like walking down the hall. She's like froze. I don't know if that's true. I'm just acting it out, right? So yeah. So you guys got it. Good. So as you notice on this page here, 181, questions 5 and 6 are not real SAT questions. They're written to make you think of how would you phrase the answer choice? It's just an exercise to take you away from reading the answer choices and saying yes and no, right? Or yes, no, and maybe. Let's go to number 4 first with Jeremy. That's still a regular question. It's the same passage there on the.
Yeah. I would say to like emphasize the impulsiveness.
Impulsiveness. Is that what line 49 is saying?
Oh.
What is the previous?
Okay. I would say like like charitable.
Why charitable?
Like nice.
Why nice? What does the previous sentence
She
tell
was
us?
educating younger musicians.
True. Is it because she's nice?
Or like she wanted to revive it.
You're getting warmer. You're getting
Yeah.
warmer. Getting warmer. Did either of you guys want to chime in on that? What do you think evangelical means? Yes.
I thought it meant like kind of good-hearted.
Good-hearted. Lucas, what do you think? Good-hearted still?
Yeah, I got something similar to that.
Okay. Well, let's look at the answers and see if that helps us with that. Jeremy, you want to walk us through it?
Make a tremendous impact that Landowska had on her listeners. Maybe illustrate the reverence that Landowska felt for playing or for music. Probably not. Although maybe he gently mocked the urgency with which Landowska pursued her passion. No. Conveyed to the extent to which Landowska felt the need to educate people about the music she played. Probably.
D is the right answer. I'm going to take a step back because I could sense the maybe on 2 of them with you.
I would think it was B.
Okay. The reason why it's not B, let's talk about that. She didn't have a reverence. Reverence is used to say a deep respect for the playing of it. Reverence. The word evangelical, where have we heard this usually? Evangelical. It's usually religious, because if someone goes to a church that's evangelical, usually they have an effort to share their, I'll use Christian message so that others would become Christian. An evangelist is one who shares a Christian message and tries to get people to become Christian, or they become missionaries and they go to other countries to convert people. But to describe a musician as evangelical, we know we're not talking about religion here, but she's converting younger people. She's trying to share with them, like, I know you would never listen to this, but once you hear this, you'll really appreciate it. That's what she's trying to do. So it's not like really converting you, like, I will baptize you with the music. No, you're not baptized in the music or something like that. So A was close, right? It's the second best answer. But D, it's saying that she was really committed. It was like her life mission, her passion to share this with other people. That's why they use, because a missionary would go to another country, they'd commit their whole life to something, right? She's committing her whole life to music, right? All right. This is really different. And Emma, when you do number 5, you're going to have to tell us what answer you come up with, because there's nothing to choose from.
Oh boy.
Do I get a hand to play? No.
Yeah. This one.
Okay.
I'll tell you if you want.
Okay.
Discussion. 5:59, search for YouTube. Um,
When you're ready.
I mean, mine's kind of like bullet point, but I would think
That's
it
fine.
would be like to show like how different she played.
And what do you mean by different?
Like they played with a lead foot.
Yes. And she played lightly. Yeah, so like they were probably like pressing the keyboard really hard, and she was probably light floor and touch. That's what the passage said. Contrasting styles. Right. Good. That's what I would look for. How about number 6, Lucas? You want to do that?
The author discusses Landowski's use of unusual instruments in lines 67 through 71 in order to. I think it's to kind of tie in this entire notion that she likes to, or she's likes to go back to kind of like older methods and things that were kind of usually overlooked.
What do you mean by methods? Because is that what they're asking about
Or
here?
not methods, but instruments, I guess.
Instruments, okay. Particularly,
Well, and here the harpsichord
right?
and also the harp. Right.
No harp,
No, just harpsichord.
just harpsichord. Okay, the important thing is this. What did her contemporaries play?
Normal.
No. Did anyone notice this? Dominic, did you notice it?
Did it say they play piano?
They put piano.
Piano.
And I already gave away that a piano is very different. It's a full size, whereas a harpsichord is this small thing. So she chose that. That's what the last sentence basically says. From last 2 sentences, starting at line 71, Landowski felt it was a debatable point, and that the most expressive instrument, meaning harpsichord instead of piano, must be chosen to let the music speak most clearly. It is evident from the tremendous interest that she chose well. So what they're trying to emphasize is that she chose harpsichord over piano because she felt it spoke most clearly. That's really what was trying to get across there. So it's saying that the author discusses it to show, in order to show that she chose a different instrument to speak more clearly. Okay, good job on this, guys. Any questions? You guys feel pretty strong with that? Good. We're going to go into math. Today's stuff, this is easier than what we did earlier with the geometry, but we'll go into this. It's just an image that we printed like that. But let's just continue with math. Let's turn to this. I think you guys know what PEMDAS is, parentheses,
They
exponent.
changed it.
What does it change to now?
I can't remember what it is, but it's no longer PEMDAS.
Some people say
PEMDAS.
GEMDAS.
No, that's it. That's the new thing that they're teaching
With
all kids.
grouping, which include, because they're trying to be very PC. They're like, oh, we don't want to offend the people who use brackets, because they might be offended if you only include parentheses. That might be like very insensitive to people. Okay, I'm over dramatizing it, but yeah, PEMDAS, GEMDAS, grouping. If you would like, did you know that in other countries they use different terms? I met this other woman who's a tutor. She's from England, and she calls it bodness. I'm like, bodness? What's bodness? She calls it bracketing. I'm like, she calls it bracketing, operations, division, multiplication, additions. I was like, bodness. That's what she called it. So, but we get PEMDAS. We've done that, right? I'm not going to spend too much time on some of these things if I think they're too easy. Point C is just saying common denominators can be separated into separate fractions. There's no such thing as a common numerator, so that fraction in the middle, A over B plus C, cannot be separated. There's no such thing as a common numerator. The third one is just re-expressing how you distribute a number from outside of parentheses. Let's talk about radicals here on point D. Let's go with Jeremy. You want to read that one for us?
Only radical equation typically involves squaring both sides. So if
square root of 2x plus 2 all minus 4 equals 4 minus the square root of 2x plus 2. What is the value of x?
What would you do here, Jeremy?
Well, like the thing said, I square both sides.
Would you square them first? Would that be the first thing you would do here? It's actually gonna come out a little complicated if you did that. Do you guys agree with me that it would come out complicated, Lucas?
Would you add the root?
Go ahead.
You would add the square root on the right side over and or add the 4.
So you're gonna, oh, right, this should be a minus here, sorry. Yeah, so let's add that. So you can add this and add it over here. So you get 2 times this 2x plus 2 minus 4 equals 4. Do you square them on both sides yet?
4 over.
Yeah, you'd add the 4. So now you have 2 times 2x plus 2 equals 8. Then what? You could, or you could
Divide by 2.
divide by 2. So one more, 2x plus 2 equals 4. Now square both sides. 2x plus 2 equals 16. So now you subtract the 2, you get 2x equals 14, x
So
7. So you could do exactly what we did right there, or you could use the answer choices and back solve them and plug them in to see if they could equal each other. Either way would work. Let's try number 2 here. This is talking about equations that are similar to radical and rational. Rational just means equal signs, radicals, equal signs or greater than, less than, but radicals, like what we just did right there. You're going to do the same thing on both sides. Let's go with number 2 on this one, Emma.
number 2. If a is greater than 0 and a plus 3 over 8 minus 3 equals 8 over 2, what is the value of a? Probably. I'd probably start off by multiplying by 2.
I'm sorry, say it again. You're going to multiply both by 2. Okay, so that's good. So you did that. What did you get?
And then I multiply by a minus 3.
Right, you're clearing the denominators. You're basically cross multiplying this thing to get rid of a minus 3.
So that would be 2. And then I add 3a to both sides.
Okay, and then you could add the 3a. It's going to get a little bit ugly here.
Yeah.
Dominic's hand is up. I want to hear what he has to say.
I subtracted 2a and 6 to both sides.
Right, that's good. That's why I didn't write anything, because I knew it was going to have to move everything back. A squared minus 5a minus 6 equals 0. This tells us to do something else now. How did you finish this one?
I split it into a minus 6 times a plus 1.
So a could equal either 6 or negative 1 there, which is correct. So
But it's greater than 0, so it's
exactly, it has to be 6. Plus it's a gradient, so you can never have a negative answer on a gradient. So more practice, homework. That's what I'm going to tell you. Let's go to number 3 here. Let's have Lucas on the next one. You're good? Everyone followed it? Okay. All right. Let's do number 3. Go ahead.
What is the value of 3 minus 1/3 of 9 over 4? So, 3 minus 1 over 3.
How would you translate that into an
So we
equation?
can find 1/3 of 9 over 4 first. And so the best way to do that is just get both common denominators.
Do you need a common denominator here? Jeremy?
Because it's 1/3 times 9/4.
All right.
So it would be 9/12.
Okay, that helps. How do we put it together with the 3? Sorry.
You could turn the 3 into,
3 over 1 minus 9 over 12.
You could do that.
or you could multiply it more.
Okay.
I do whatever.
What do you mean by what?
No, I do 36 over 12.
Do we need to get this bigger and bigger and bigger?
No.
What do we do with this?
Kind of
Oh, sorry.
3s. So
This is 3/4. This is 3 minus, this is just 2 1/4, right? Can we write 2 1/4 in a gradient? We can't, because 2 1/4 in a gradient is gonna look like this. And that's a different number. 21/4 is not what we're looking for.
You could turn the 3
2.25.
into 12 over 4. Oh, no.
Don't do that, don't go back, don't go
No,
back.
What is it, 8?
2 1/4.
So it'd be 9 over 4.
2.25.
You could write 2.25, or you could write 9/4. Either one of these, but don't write 21/4. Okay? All right, good, good. I didn't want to go back here and change this. There was nothing wrong with this at all. Okay, good. Dominic, you want to read number 4?
Yeah. If x minus 5 times the square root of x plus 6 equals 0, what is one possible value of x?
Okay.
So, let's, we can,
There are a few ways to do this. Some are faster.
You square it correctly?
I wouldn't.
Okay. Could you theoretically, though, to get the x out of the,
I wouldn't. It's going to come out very painful. If you square the whole thing, you're foiling 3 terms. It's going to come out ugly and look worse than what you have. Because square, okay, just to go back a step, Lucas, if you square, it doesn't mean you square individually.
oh, yeah, 'cause
You're not doing it. That's not what happens. That only happens if they're multiplied with it. You're foiling 3 terms, and it's going to be terrible. Okay, cringe-worthy. That's what I would call it. So what's another way we could do this?
we just start plugging in numbers.
I would plug in numbers. What's the easiest one to plug in here?
2.
2?
9.
Unless you memorize the square root of 2, which I have, it's 1.41. That's not very helpful. Okay, let's put the 9 in here. 9 minus 5, square root of 9, plus 6. Does that help us? I see 9 minus 15 plus 6. That does equal 0. That is the fastest way to do this one.
If it does something like 2 and you have to plug it in.
Well, that might be possible with the calculator, yeah,
So I,
if you had to.
okay. But if we,
But that would have been plugging in this, if you put it in the answer choice, yes, C would have been 2. A would have been ultimate pain because you would have been square root of 2 minus 5 times the square root of the square root of 2.
yes, I'm just asking how we would solve it, or what would be the best way to solve it if we didn't have to.
Let's say they didn't give us answer choices. Could we have done this without answer choices? Let's pretend they didn't give us any answer choices to plug in. What would we have done here? Does anybody have Does this look familiar in any way? Jeremy?
You turn it into a quadratic.
Yes, well, it is a quadratic.
Well,
Yeah.
you make it into the coordinates of these two.
Yeah. What would you use?
Wait.
You're on the right path. You're gonna factor this. Stick to the numbers first. Multiply to 6, add up to -5.
3 and 2.
Okay?
But
Positive or negative?
Both negative.
Right. So what's this gonna be?
That has to go to, would just be x.
It's gonna be square root of x, square root of x. You guys see that? Because when you multiply these two, they become x. When you add them together, they stay as -5. So how do we get the answer? Because we know the answer is 9. Well, this is what we do. You set them equal to 0. So you've got x root 2 minus x square root of x minus 2 equals 0. And you have square root of x minus 3 equals 0. You move this over, so it's square root of x equals 2, x equals 4. Or you do the same thing here, square root of x equals 3, x equals 9. So that's how you get the answer right there. If we didn't have any answer choices, that's how I would do that problem. Good? Number 5, Jeremy, did you want to do that?
So multiply 3 over 7 by 2 plus a over 2 plus a.
So you did cross multiply? All right. And then you subtracted, so this is 1, 2a, a equals 1/2. You put it in there, 2 over 1/2 equals 4. So that would, what? I missed something there. I think I,
3. 3n.
what did I do here?
So it becomes 1/3, not 1/2.
Yeah, no, what did I do here to get 1/2? What did I do?
You.
Oh, I get it.
It's 3a.
It's 3, I wrote that wrong, yeah. I was like, what the heck? How did I get that? 3a, right. This becomes 1/3, correct. Okay, so this becomes 2 over 1/3, answer 6. Man, I went too fast. Okay, good. Good job. Inequalities on the next page. I think you guys know the dynamics here. They work just like regular equations, just that if you multiply or divide both sides by negative, you flip the inequality sign, right? If you multiply or divide both sides by a negative number, then you must flip the inequality sign. They work just like regular equations, except for that, that one exception. Okay. Emma, do you want to do number 6 for us?
Sure. Okay. If 8 minus 2 is equal to 6, what are the following describes are the possible values of x? So I subtract 8, be -2, and then I multiply by -1, which would flip the two sides, flip the sign, and then divide by 2.
Uh-huh.
So that means that it would be D.
Correct. You had to flip the sign on that one. Good. Another way that test makers, I mean, this was obviously not as hard as the real test, but the way that the test makers are going to make it harder is they're going to include other math topics, such as absolute values, That's one way. They'll add other math topics. Or a second thing that they'll do will be they'll use more than one inequality in the equation. So it's not just one, but it's actually two. So with regard to absolute values, you guys know that absolute value is the distance from a number to zero. A lot of students think it's just make it positive, right? But what you're doing is you're counting units. So if you had 7, 7 is 7 units away from 0. -7 is 7 units away from 0. If your absolute value is 8, what was the original number? -8 or 8. If your absolute value is n, what's your original number? Yeah, positive or negative n. So that's what they're saying there, D. Do not simply call it, the positive value, because the time where it's a big red flag, like, hey, don't just call it positive, is when they give you an equation inside of an absolute value. So if it was something like x plus 1 equals -5, right? Then you don't just say make it positive. What do you do here? Do you guys remember this? What would you do in this situation? Okay, I'll make it positive. Just a second. Okay, I'll make it positive 5. But if that happened, what would you do?
You do side 5 to the other side.
It could be x could be 4 or it could be negative.
Because this is an equation, we have to consider two possibilities. One is when you take the bars off, that it equals 5, or when you take the bars off, that it equals -5. So you have to look at both situations, not just one. That's why I said don't just think make it positive, because that's not what absolute value should be done. Am I going too fast on that? Okay, let's try to do number 7. We're probably not going to finish the math today, but it's okay. But let's go with Lucas. You want to read that for us?
Yeah, sure. The number line above shows a range of possible values for some numbers b. Which of the following shows the same possible values for b? Okay. Okay. So wouldn't it be b? Oh wait, no.
I gave you guys the method. When you guys see an equation inside of an absolute value, you've got to create two equations.
Minus 1, 2, or 5 equals, and then there would be.
Which one are you on, Lucas? Which answer choice are you on? Which are you translating one of the answer choices, or you?
Oh yeah, I'm just translating one right now.
Okay, which one are you doing?
Oh, let's just see.
Okay.
Okay, so the. Oh, I didn't see that it ended. I just thought it continued on. That's why I was kind of confused.
Which one?
Like the number line, I didn't see that it ended at
Oh, right.
+5, so I got confused by that for a second. I thought it continued on, but I'm like.
Okay. Dominic, were you going to chime in?
Yeah, yes, I agree.
When you do this, it's probably going to be B, because the number line itself is between -1 and 5. That's what we're aiming for, right? And answer B is correct, because if you look at it, when you take the bars off of it, you get two equations. You get B minus 2 is less than or equal to 3. So when you add this to both sides, you get B is less than or equal to 5. You do the negative version, but you've got to flip the sign and make this -3, right? Because of the negative on this side, you've got to flip this. So when you do that, you're adding 2 to both sides. B is greater than or equal to -1. So that's B is greater than -1. B is less than 5. And that's your answer right there. So it was a little bit tricky. I wasn't following you entirely when you're doing it,
Confused.
but it's okay. Everyone sees that, right? Because that's how they kind of throw a trick at us. It is 7 o'clock. We're pretty far into this, so we don't have as much catch up to do. But you guys can do the homework. I need to email you guys the answers for the other lessons, but the homework is actually harder, especially the math problems, than the stuff that we're doing in the class. So we'll finish up the math next time because we have like a little mini practice quiz next time that covers all of the topics, but it's so that we can kind of get another round of going through a practice test. Any questions? Yeah.
When are we gonna, do you have an idea when we're gonna get our scores done?
I do need to give those